Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So here I want to cover all of the new gear coming with Module 29. There'll be a link to a document down below, and this has everything from your new weapons, new armor, rings, clothing, artifact sets, and companion gear. So let's briefly cover everything, where you're getting it and how good it will be. Is there anything new you'll want to work towards? Again, it will vary depending if you're a tank, healer, or a damage dealer, a DPS. They all have generally different gear pieces in terms of armor. First of all, we look at the weapons. They have some super cool visuals. It will vary depending on class, of course, and I will showcase them more in their own dedicated video when we get to actually test them out and walk around with them. But ultimately, they just come from the campaign. So they're very easy to obtain, and I would rate them as just stepping stone gear. They're okay, you can use them, but they're just better options you'll want to work towards. You will notice by the border on the gear, as per this legend, what I've kind of rated them at. So the white border is like kind of just avoid. There are much better options you can use even at that level. Green border is usable, but you'll want to work towards getting something better. The gold border is fairly good, but there might be something that's a bit better than it. And then the magenta border is like, yeah, best in slot in certain situations. So the weapons, yeah, with their bonus just giving some power based on the difference between hit points of you and your target, and then just giving some stat based on your roll, 2.5%. Overall, they're just not that great. They're okay to begin with, especially since they have 175 base damage, but you will want to, again, work towards something better. Even the Stormforged weapons from the North Dark Reaches will be still better than this. Then we move on to Mythic Armor. This is coming from the new Master Dungeon. You'll be able to buy it here, but it'll most likely also drop in the dungeon. And so we have a set for the tanks. It will look like this here, and ultimately the headpiece can be best in slot. That's like maximum 4% stamina and 8% awareness. But you have to be in combat for a long time and most likely not die. Unfortunately, the breastplate is, yeah, there are better options than it, particularly from Demon Web Pits with that more reliable one. The gauntlets, same story. It's like a temporary buff, not something you can rely on. And the boots, yes, they are more reliable, but there's just better options like Dragon Hunts. 20% more maximum hit points is just far better than that in most situations. And then we move on to the healer gear. Paladins and clerics share the same appearances with the tanks, but bards and warlocks will have a different visual set. The headpiece can be like best in slot for giving 5% outgoing healing and 5% power combined with that item level. The armor piece can be best in slot with 7.5% crit strike and 7.5% crit severity, but not that great for a paladin, mainly for the heal over time healers. The arms giving 20% heal resource are super good. You do have, again, the one for bard and warlock giving performance and soul weave. It's just I currently have the tooltip of the paladin and cleric one, but they have everything else the same in terms of stats. Then the boots, they are, yeah, very good, but you can get ones with 20% like heal resource regen, so I just have these as golden border. They will also give, though, 3.5% outgoing healing. Then moving on to the damage dealers. For your rogue, cleric, bard, and ranger, you get that armor set. For warlock and wizard, you get this. And for barbarian and fighter, you get this. However, the bonuses are all the same, and you have a headpiece which can be best in slot. You can get up to 10% combat advantage there. The armor piece also pretty much just best in slot, a direct upgrade from a piece that like everybody's been using. 7.5% accuracy, 7.5% combat advantage fairly reliably. The arms can give up to 7.5% crit strike when you're in multi-target, so 3 or more enemies. It's very good for the crit strike, particularly as a replacement for the ultraviolet one, which requires you to be in single target with the same bonus, so you just switch between the two. And then the boots, just extra damage with fire themed maps. That can be best in slot combined with the item level. Now we move on to the advanced Lair of the Mad Dragon and the legendary gear you can get from there. Starting with tanks, you may initially think there's no difference between the mythic gear in terms of visuals, and you'd be incorrect. There is a subtle difference. This right here is the legendary and this is the mythic. So a definite subtle difference. But in terms of the bonuses, they're also very similar, but slightly less of an effect. So the headpiece, you're getting 4% stamina, 6% awareness. It's pretty good, but the rest of them are, again, just stepping stone gear, with the armor being not reliable, the arms not being reliable, and the boots being good, but very small gain. Then for the healers, again, paladins and clerics sharing the same armor as your tanks, but then your bard and warlocks will have this one here. In terms of the bonuses, yes, the headpiece will have like 4% outgoing healing, 4% power. It's good. The armor piece having the 7.5% crit strike and 7.5% crit severity is very good. It's like the mythic piece, just slightly less item level. So they're pretty much the same, especially in scaled content. The arms then give only like 15% divinity versus the 20% you can get elsewhere, but still very good. And the boots giving 12% regen with the 3% outgoing healing. So also pretty good. You can just get a little bit better ones if you go into, say, master content. Just be aware again, this is from the advanced dungeon, which would be a lot more accessible to a lot of players. Then going to the DPS gear, again, slight visual differences. So this is the rogue, cleric, bard, and ranger, with then wizard and warlock looking like this, and your fighter barbarian like this. The bonuses then have the headpiece, which is, yeah, pretty good. 8% combat advantage when you're in combat for a long time. The armor piece, it's another like best in slot one with 7.5% crit strike and 7.5% crit severity at maximum. So it's just an alternative to the mythic one, giving different stats. Very good. Minor item level difference between them that it won't really matter. And then the arms, again, very similar to the mythic version, just a little bit less crit strike, and the boots just a tiny bit less damage, like 0.5% from the mythic. So very good options there. You can just jump into master version and get like the mythic armor, which then becomes, yeah, like the best stuff you can get. But from here, we move to some campaign armor. This is really some stepping stone stuff. It just costs between 50 to 100,000 per gear piece, and in general I would avoid it. But if you really had nothing better, well, it's all kind of just stepping stone stuff. Most of it's just going to give extra ratings, a set for damage dealers here, a set for healers, and a set for tanks, just giving different ratings based on what fits that role the best. It's just, yeah, again, all of it's stepping stone stuff. It's okay. It's got some reliable bonuses to give those ratings, so it's not like the worst you could use, but once you get your character built up with all enchantments, insignias, etc., you're just gonna have too many ratings, not be able to fit this, and then there are just, again, better options to go for. It does have high item level that will help you unlock content, but it does come with the astral diamond cost, which most people would then want to avoid as a result, and I would recommend it too if you can just get better alternative options that don't cost anything. So in most cases, I would avoid it. Now we move on to the master and advanced rings from the Lair of the Mad Dragon. These again, you will be able to purchase here, but I assume they can probably drop from the dungeon as well. And ultimately, their bonuses are a bit disappointing. One here giving a maximum of 2% damage resistance when your health is like at 25% is just pretty poor. Another giving 5% outgoing healing for 10 seconds every 20 seconds, also pretty poor. I would just avoid them. There are far better options to get. This one then giving a maximum of 5% combat advantage when you're in combat for a while can be pretty good, but then this one giving a bunch of ratings at this level is very poor. And then giving 2% damage in fire themed maps, again, it's okay, but you'd just be worth getting better options. Even something with just a boost to stats would be better than that tiny amount of damage. Now you do have some rings from the heroic encounters in the new zone, and these ones, yeah, there's going to be a bunch that will give just ratings. This one's actually pretty decent. When your stamina is over 75%, you gain like over 7,000 power. That's pretty reliable and nice. You have a bunch of ones here which are just not reliable stat boosts at all, and then this one kind of just stepping stone. It's a bit of damage it will do around you. It's, I guess, better in scaled content, but outside of that, it's kind of meh. You're better off with just some stat gains. And then you have some rings you'll get from the Mountain of Flame campaign store. So these ones are lesser variants again, even than the epic ones. And yeah, there's not a lot of great options here. However, you could use this one for some defense as a tank. You could use this one for some outgoing healing on a healer. And this one is actually pretty decent with the reliable power boost. This one is, yeah, okay. You have to keep in mind it's only good when you're against one enemy. And then we move on to clothing, and there's a lot of it. And we get new shirt and pants at Mythic. These you will find in the Master Lair of the Mad Dragon dungeon. There is legendary variants which you'll get in Advanced, but there's some pretty good options here. I'm not going to be so quick as to say it's best in slot, potentially if you make use of the set. You keep in mind this has a set which would give you 2% defense, and this would be 2% recharge speed, this one would be 2% accuracy, and then you're onto the trousers. So you need to match one shirt with one trouser to be able to get that set. As for the bonuses, this one's like not that reliable crit avoidance boost, but we don't have a lot of good shirts anyway for tanks, so at least that might help. This one's got the cooldown reduction, which can be useful. This one's got outgoing healing boost, which is good. More cooldown reduction. 2% damage in fire themed maps with the set of 2% accuracy can be pretty neat. And then this one here with the cooldown reduction. And then you go to the trousers. First of all, there's some pretty poor ones like the damage resistance. I would just kind of avoid those. Same with the recharge speed. It's very temporary. Like it lasts 10 seconds and then a 30-second cooldown, so I would just avoid. Then you have more recharge speed here, more cooldown reduction. This is again with the 2% recharge speed set. This is the accuracy set. Then you have one which is like pretty much best in slot with 5% crit strike when your stamina is over 75%. Very good. And then this one with the extra action points when you critically hit. Also can be very good if you need to make sure you get your daily power. That comes with the accuracy set, so that's very nice. And then you have the advanced shirt and pants. The mythic ones look like this, and the legendary ones are slightly different. In terms of the bonuses on the legendary ones, they're basically the same, just maybe a fraction of a percent less. Like the crit avoidance is 4.5% instead of 5%. The cooldown reduction is 1 second rather than 1.2 second. And they do have the same sets here again with like the 2% recharge speed, 2% defense, 2% accuracy. So there's some useful ones there. Same rating with the trousers. And yeah, there are some very good ones here like stamina over 75%, 4.5% crit strike, and then some action points with that one. But now we move to the epic clothing. So this will come from the Fire Giant lockdowns. That's the new activity. You can watch my video on that. But in terms of the visuals, they'll all look like that. However, the bonuses are quite a bit different, and they do share a set, but they're going to be giving like ratings. So these are like, again, more stepping stone gear pieces. I would avoid this one, which is the temporary boost to crit avoidance ratings. You generally won't really fit that, and it's temporary, so I would avoid it. This is with the boost of awareness, which is reliable. If your stamina is under 25%, that can be most of the time if you're like blocking a lot. Then this one with stamina over 75% gain crit severity. With the set of 3000 power can be pretty useful there too. And then we go to the trousers. So you have like one with a decent awareness boost, which can be very nice. Then there's this one, which okay, again, stamina over 75% gain, reliable, 5600 ratings for crit strike. And this one is okay as well. And then you have all the clothing from the campaign store. So this is all blue stuff. Again, very similar to the epic stuff here. So just like rating boosts with then a set as well. It's just, yeah, they're much lower item level and you'll just want to work towards getting the epic ones anyway. But now we go to the artifact sets. Here's one you can get from the campaign, heroic encounters, and Fire Giant lockdowns. You can purchase it from the campaign. You just need a bunch of the currency, but you should be able to get it to drop for you as well, and you might even be able to sell it because it binds on equipped character. It doesn't have like bind and pickup. But this is just going to give a bunch of stat boosts. It's all right. Stepping stone gear there. also because it has very big item level. But then the artifact is pretty useful. You can use it as like active to give yourself a damage boost for like multi-target content, also dealing some extra damage. And then yeah, that would complete the set, which is again okay, but I would work towards getting something better. And then the set from the Master and Advanced dungeon, and this basically has the same set as the Jewel of the North, where you had like tanks gain increased threat and anybody else would gain like 15% less threat. I believe it's going to be like 100% bonus threat to your base, so it's okay, but I wouldn't use it, to be honest. There are better options which are like best in slot, but you're not going to go too wrong if you have it. And the artifact is like best in slot because it has a debuff effect, making the target take 10% extra damage. And then there is a new artifact upcoming in a lockbox, which will be best in slot because it'll have defensive stats and 15% stamina regen. So very good for tanks right there. It also can be used as primary to make the target take 10% increased damage. But finally, we have the companion gear. Again, you'll just get this from the campaign. You'll have to do some activities to get the reagents, like your lockdown events and your quests, but ultimately there are some very good options here. Most of it's best in slot just because it has the most item level in the game, and it does have some favorable stats. Like one here I put as okay because it has deflection, which is generally not that valuable on a tank. And then these ones here are triple stats, so they can depend if you'd need, say, the Forte, whether they're good. You could even consider them best in slot if you do want the Forte. I know some builds I do, just to get like a little bit of extra stats to cap out. But overall, yep, some very good companion gear pieces there. You'll be able to get anything you need. Like very good one for tanks is awareness or crit avoidance. For healers, you can get Forte and outgoing healing, or you can even go crit strike, outgoing healing, and damage dealers. Yeah, there's plenty of options. Combat advantage, crit severity, crit strike, crit severity, and then these ones with like some Forte. So combat advantage, crit severity, Forte, accuracy, combat advantage, Forte. Even if you already have too many ratings and want some extra defense, you can go accuracy, defense, Forte. So that is ultimately all of the gear coming with this update, at least that we can see right now. There's a link in the video description below for this document. You can peruse it for yourself if what I covered was not enough for you. There are some like fashion items and vanity items you can obtain. Like this fashion set would look super cool. Then this one here, and then just some vanity pets. So this little imp simply coming from the campaign store. Then another vanity pet here from lockdowns and also your heroic encounters. Then this one also from lockdowns and heroic encounters. This one just from the campaign store. And this from the milestone rewards from the campaign. You finish the campaign, you'll get him. And finally this imp with glowing eyes from the new dungeon. He's pretty hard to see. But yeah, that is about it for everything of the new update. We will most likely be able to actually access that gear pretty soon and test out if the gear pieces work. But most of them are not really anything new. Most of the bonuses we've already seen in the game before. So it's just gear that actually has some useful ones that we did use in the past, but just with higher item level, making it like, yeah, basically best in slot, since it is something we want to use. It's better than gear pieces they make that are just pointless, that we won't even use. They might be something new, but the bonus is just either too convoluted or unreliable that nobody uses it anyway. Better to have something that we know we're going to use rather than something that we're not. But sure, I would also like them to introduce new gear with some imagination and creativity, having some new gear bonuses that are like best in slot but require, say, different playstyles, and also then like different creative builds. But alas, this is what we're with for now. Hopefully this helps. A special thank you to all these channel members, and we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.